Inventory remains low across the country, but in California's most desirable market, more on that towards the end of this podcast, it is at record lows. In the August market update for the SLO County Real Estate podcast with Hal Sweasey, inventory issues are greater than rising interest rates in determining home values, which remain very strong. SLO County is hot in August, but always hot in real estate. With the market update, here's your host, James Bueno.
I feel like today is going to be one of those fun days. SLO County Real Estate with Mr. Hal Sweasey. How are you, sir?
It feels like the funnest already.
Is funnest a word?
Funniest. Let's make it the
Funniest. Mr. Pete, how are you?
I'm phenomenal.
And he's back, and I'm excited. I think that the energy, the electricity in the room is because of this guy right here. Mr. JT, how are you?
Hey, in Scrabble, you wouldn't win with funnest.
Yeah.
It depends on who you're playing with.
That's why I don't play.
Yeah, it really depends. And then Mr. Kingman, Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing good, thanks.
But
Yeah.
but I'm looking at Jay's got his calculator on his.
He's got-
It's
I
got one of those.
math.
He's
calculus.
got
it's like
paper.
a cosine thing on there. Is that what's the cosine?
That's the old 10HB2.
Is it really?
Yeah, old school.
On your phone? Let me see the picture. Let me see. I'm looking at it sideways. Look at all those symbols that I don't know what they mean.
Shelving,
So last part,
shelving
you-
formulas, the whole 9 yards.
What is the table where you got all the elements in? What's the?
Oh, that's a periodic table
Periodic
of elements.
Yeah, periodically.
I
would
said
know
that
one
as
of
if I
those.
knew what you were talking about. I was just joking. You guys gave me a hard time last time for looking at Jay while he was texting on his phone. But I guess he's using the calculator.
Yeah.
So,
that's
okay,
what, yeah, it wasn't
yeah.
texting. He was adding.
He was
a
at-
Swiss
All
Army
he
knife. It
knows
does
is the
everything.
little plus sign. He doesn't know how to use any of the fancy.
Okay.
right. Look at
Are we going to do some real estate
JT's ready to
business
roll.
or what?
All right, I think we're excited, JT, because we got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about.
I'm excited to be here, man. Are
so
you kidding me?
It's the beginning of the month, so I think it's market update time, right?
Yes, it's exciting. The more the things change, the more they stay the same.
Yes.
Yeah. There's our real estate market, San Luis Obispo County in a nutshell. So what we saw for sure was 100 less homes for sale than about a year ago, right? So what you do hear about probably as low inventory is correct.
Absolutely.
We had about 40 less sales in the county, so we had about 187 sell this year, this time of year versus last year. So a little bit lower, which is to be expected. Still going to be a normal year. I think when we projected this out, we're going to be just shy of 2,000 sales in the county, roughly. And then nationwide, it's the same thing. And then we have 40 less new listings coming on the market. When I talk about the inventory, when we're looking forward, we always look at how many new ones are coming in and how many are selling and going off the market. So if I look at like specific numbers, 187 sold, but new only 116. That means 71 less houses. Right.
Sure, which the attrition rate, they're going to evaporate before we can get more property on the market.
Right. So if we stayed at 255, we're mathing the heck out of this thing. But 71, how many months of that without new homes coming on the market? Boy, our inventory's gone. It speaks to, I would say, the dynamic, resilient market we have in spite of high rates and low inventory. It's still crazy. I mean, John, what would you say?
Let's break away right now to this news update.
Oh yeah, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an update.
Since you did your market update yesterday,
Right.
when you did your video that goes out to everybody in the world,
12,000. Everybody's.
I looked at some numbers this morning. Did you know that we had 68 new properties come on the market in the last week? That looks like the biggest week we've had in a while. Now, 5 years ago, that wouldn't be a big week, right?
Right.
But we had 116, you said, new properties? 100?
Last month, by the way, we record them. Yeah, your stats are a little bit different.
A little different, yeah. 116. Well, if we had 68 in a week, that looks like in the last week we've seen some improvement. And the number of homes on the market where I get my data, which is a little bit different than what we're looking at right now, there's the most we've had in a couple of years. So,
Right.
So maybe the inventory thing hasn't turned by adding another 100 houses or 68 houses.
Right.
But
you don't track your stats don't track land.
I delete land as
Right,
part
okay.
of
Yeah.
the number. What I'm saying is, let's watch now to see if we don't start to see a little more inventory coming on the market, which would be good for everybody.
Yeah,
right?
you would think so. I think too. You can make a lot of cases that people don't want to sell because their rates are low, and they don't want to sell because their taxes are low, and they don't want to sell because their insurance is low. And-
They have insurance.
or they have insurance, which is nice, right? So those are some contributing factors, and they don't want to sell because they don't see anything to buy. I think there will be more stimulation in the market if more things do become available.
Yeah, let's watch. A week doesn't maketh a market.
So the second thing we talk about, because we see this a lot of people talk about it, and I don't know if it's as common, but because I don't watch the news that much, but the quote unquote housing crash, that usually means pricing. Well, hey, I'm going to wait for the market to crash, so we think it's a price situation. And we haven't seen it. Now, last year, and if you bought in March or April and you're trying to sell now, you may have less equity and you probably saw a price drop, and it probably happened through December, January. We've seen prices increasing. In fact, one of the aggregators is predicting an increase in prices next year, doing some math. But a lot of that is supply related. But we certainly would have a crash if we would talk in terms of, inventory. I mean, there is just not much for sale. And part of that is a building situation. I think we've talked about this before, but nationwide, locally, it's hard to build homes. I mean, it was probably 2018 or 2019 when a lot of these subdivisions, and mostly in San Luis City proper, were coming online. There was like 2,000 homes coming on the market. And we sell 600 a year. So it's like, if they all come at the same time, we got 3 years worth of houses. Nobody's going to be able to sell.
Could you imagine that?
Well, it takes
that
time.
sounds so attractive.
But
I
it
wish
was
that would happen.
but that was in 10 years.
During COVID, they paused, right?
Right.
So that, oh gosh, we all were concerned. So point being is, even if they all come to fruition, it just doesn't seem like enough to move the marketplace, right, in terms of supply. So we're seeing that, and we do know this too. In a housing crash, we usually don't have 30 to 40% of the homes selling over the asking price. But it's not all, gumdrops and roses for everybody. I mean, if you don't price your house properly, and it's true in a lot of places, you don't get a lot of activity. And the buying public makes a decision pretty darn quick these days.
They do on whether a property is properly priced or not.
Yeah.
So would there be a penalty then?
Yeah. So here's the downside.
Absolutely.
Right. We put a new listing on the market. People show it. Okay, do you have any offers? Well, not yet. And if there's offers, then boom, they want to strike. But if there's no offers, sometimes they sit on the market for a while. And sometimes they sit for a long time.
If a property is not properly priced, it's overpriced, it'll be on the market 5 times longer than a property that is priced properly.
Yeah, you said
10
priced 10 days on the market.
10 days. If it's priced properly, it's on average 10 to 12 days. And if it's not properly priced, so what we're looking at is a price adjustment. If a property is sold without a price adjustment,
Yeah.
then it's priced properly, and it goes into escrow 10 to 12 days.
They got it right in the beginning.
Yep. And if there is a single price adjustment, it takes 5 times longer to sell, to end up in escrow.
So let's define priced properly. What does that mean?
I stay in close contact with one of the more long-standing appraisers in town who's very thorough, and we talk a lot about this. And it's tricky these days because we don't have quite as many sales, and every little instance is slightly different. So it's tough. I would hate to be an appraiser and say, this is what it's worth today. Mm-hmm. I can say, hey, at about this price, $800,000, I think you'll get a lot of activity. At $850,000, we don't have much to show for it. If you start at $850,000, you're running the chance of 50 days, a price adjustment, and then less likely to be the 30 to 40% that gets bid up.
Yeah.
If you price it a little bit more fairly on the more aggressive or lower side, and you have an offer on that property, then your chances of getting more than one increase a lot.
Exponentially. Yeah.
Exponentially.
Yeah.
Proper pricing is when you receive more than one offer in less than a week.
I'm going to say 7 to 14 days.
Okay, so is proper pricing that I got one offer at the asking price, or is proper pricing? Now remember, you're a listing agent. You work for who?
The seller.
The seller. Is proper pricing? I priced it $25,000 under the last thing I said, the where they got the one offer at asking.
Right.
I priced it $25,000 under, so I got multiple offers, and it went for $25,000 over. Now, which one's proper pricing?
At the end of the day, the property is going to sell for what a buyer is willing to pay.
Yes, and sometimes we saw in the last couple of years, we saw people pay more for properties than maybe they, in some cases, should have, because they got caught up in the frenzy. Oh, you want this house? No way. You're not getting it. It's like serving people drinks and having an auction for charity.
Well, here's the nuance, too, about having someone experienced in terms of negotiations. The price is what a buyer's willing to pay, given the opportunity. I'll see it from the buyer's agent side, we're working with a buyer, and we're one of 3 or 4 offers, let's say, and we put in an offer. And a lot of times it's communicated to the listing agent, hey, we're starting here, but let us know, what it takes to get the property. And then the offers get submitted, and then a phone call comes back to the buyer's agent and says, oh, we took another offer. Okay, so probably better, right? But could they not have just said, hey, you need to be here. You sure this is the best you can do? I see buyers that would have paid more. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
And given the chance with proper, now maybe it was the owner just said, oh, I don't want to take a chance. Great. I don't want to scare anybody away. But if you make a phone call, you usually won't scare anybody away. So there is some nuance to that when you're working with a seller and a buyer and more than one offer.
I want to come back to this idea of proper pricing for just a second.
Yeah.
I'm trying to live in the head of a seller. And I'll go back 7 or 8 years where Hal, you listed and sold a property for me.
Yep.
I would think differently today than I thought on that day after spending the last few years with you. We listed and sold a property in less than a week for $849. Now you suggested $849, and I said, no, $869. That's what I want to list the property for. And you go, well, if it's worth $869, we'll find out. You'll get $869.
Right.
So I followed your lead, and sure enough, like I said, we sold the property in less than a week for $849. Had I been thinking like I would think today, having learned a lot, I think, the last few years, just hanging around you guys, I'd probably price the property at $839 or $829. So how many sellers are thinking, you know what, I probably ought to price my property lower than it's worth to drive more eyes, to drive more activity?
The scary part is if the truth reveals itself and it's only worth $829, right? So that's the scary part.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, if I put it $829, and historically, most real estate properties historically don't get bid up.
Yeah.
In an auction situation, they do. We try to create that if we can, but historically they don't. And people are usually used to, well, whatever I say, they're going to offer less. I mean, that is like drilled into not everybody, but a lot of people's heads from day one. Nobody offers full price. Well, that's usually just a reflection of the way they think. I would never offer full price.
So 20 years from now, we'll be looking back at this era and going, can you believe what the heck was going on?
Selling a house.
Or is it the new normal? So many people got into houses, took advantage of rates, inventories historically low because people got settled. The importance that Jay talks about all the time on the podcast of what happened during the pandemic. We realized the value of our homes. Now our homes, are we just conditioned as people buying homes that, it's asking or higher in some instances because homes are a more valued commodity than they were prior to the importance that was placed on them during the pandemic.
I would say it's all cyclical. Hey,
You've been in this longer.
yeah. I mean, I just look
Was caught
at
up in the
every
frenzy.
economic type of cycle, right? So if we don't make any more houses and we keep making more people, then this will be the new norm.
That's fundamental economics, right?
They-
Keep making more people.
I watched something the other day, and they were talking about 33-year-olds because that's the age where people typically are looking to be first-time home buyers. And so in some ways, the market tracks with how many people are turning 33.
Right.
That's the year I bought my first house. I just did the math.
That's kind of interesting,
True.
huh?
Okay, so some of us are baby boomers, some aren't. I'm like in the lower end, I'm 60. But, pretty soon there's a lot of us that aren't going to be around anymore. So that'll affect things. I mean, the attrition rate, I guess you'd call that.
But,
Is that too morbid to talk about?
You
Sorry.
talked about
That was weird.
Hey,
Yeah, it was weird.
there are tons of real estate cycles, and I'm sure somebody could write a book, called "Real Estate Cycles for Dummies" or something. There's with a couple of very short, and when I talk about short, couple years exceptions.
Right.
There's only been one real estate cycle in the last 100 years,
Right.
and it's up.
Yeah. So
And it's
in
up
general,
some more this year. It's going to be up some more next year.
Yep.
And maybe we'll hit a little tweak where it goes down for a few months, but it's going to be up again in 10 years, and it's going to be up again in 20. And I'm going to go to bed tonight believing that.
Well, and I was just, I think what Jeff was saying is is it normal to have multiple offers? I think at some point it's going to level out where it's, my gosh, it's going to take a month or 2 or 3 to sell a house. That historically is probably normal. We should look at that up.
But think about, again, 10, 15 years ago when you weren't seeing as many multiple offer situations.
Sure.
The people didn't think about pricing the house to get multiple offers. That wasn't part of the conversation. Just what's the house worth? Okay, that's where we're pricing it.
Right.
But we can create multiple offer situations in any market based on how we price a house.
Absolutely.
I think it depends on whenever you get into it too in your first experience, because for us, we got outbid on 7 houses that we liked. Now we lucked out in the house that we really liked. We went a little bit higher, because we're like, okay, this is the one that we want.
Right.
But I can't imagine buying another house and that being caught up in that frenzy of late 2020 and early 21. That was my real situation.
You're right.
So I figured that's the way people
it is,
buy houses so infrequently.
Right.
Whether you're upgrading, whether you're downgrading, whether you're buying an investment property, you buy them so infrequently that you just kind of go with what you have in your experience. And that's how I fully expect to make a big offer on the next house that I want to buy.
Yeah.
Hey, 2 things there, Jeff. Number 1, it's great. You're coachable. Number 2, you'll do it again if your wife wants you to.
So that's 100% certainty that I will do it again.
Right.
There you go.
Where do we go from here? Well, here's what I see. I see there's a big conversation about real estate. Real estate is always kind of on top of mind for a lot of people, but just like in our website, James was nice enough when he started with us, or even just a year ago, we had like 5,000 unique visitors showing up to our little website here in San Luis Obispo County. Now, James, we're over
21,000.
21,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the work of James Bueno, Director of Marketing.
Marketing Director.
The big difference now, though, is we have 6,000 returning. So uniques, we have tons. So it's 14,000.
That's 14 or 15.
Yeah. So it's the unique visitors are.
That's up 1,000 from the last time.
Yeah, let's build up the unique.
So about 1,000 a month.
It's
That's
quite a
good.
bit,
That's good work.
Yeah.
You get a bonus for that?
We'll see.
If I have anything to do with it.
Yeah. But I think to sum it up, I mean, the prognosticators are saying, prices will probably continue to rise because of the lack of supply. Incomes in general are stronger, right? So we see that. That's helpful for real estate. Rents have gone up, so
They're going to go up every single year.
What do you think what are the prognosticators saying about interest rates?
well, most of them are saying it's just they're going to go down. It's a matter of when. But I think a lot of these raises are putting powder back in the gun that's empty now, or bullets back in there. Because then if things get rocky and there's a recession, which there's a lot of talk about that, they have the ability to lower rates for the economy. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, that's usually a big boon to real estate. Okay, so we're now positioned to adjust if needed. So it appears like prices will continue to rise. Rates will likely drop fairly soon. And, believe it or not, we've been hearing this for 15 or 20 years or whatever. I wish I would have bought something yesterday, a year ago, 10 years ago, whatever.
20 years ago, yeah.
So if I have to or want to sell my house right now, what would you tell me?
You're lucky. You picked this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If I was a buyer and I have to or want to buy a house right now, what would you tell me?
I'd say be prepared and get in there. And the good news is I just bought a house, personally. I got lucky. There's 2 offers. Fortunately, mine was the best. And no one came in for a little while longer, otherwise, because they got a better offer after we had an agreement. So I got very lucky. And it was very nice. The people were great, everything. But all I can say is, I bought at a rate that's higher than I gave up a really low rate to get today's rates, just under 7%. And my sense is probably in the next 6 to 24 months, the rates will go down, but we're in the house we want.
Jeff, pay attention to Hal Sweasey. See, that's when your wife wants a new house.
Boss.
Yes.
There is something to be said about rates and about buying and what the prognosticators are predicting. I think one of the biggest aggregators in the country came out with a where is appreciation going to be found this year,
yeah.
2024, and San Luis and Paso Robles were number 6 in the entire country. In the state of California, ranked number 1 for appreciation, and they're shooting at like 10%. And so if you're looking to buy a home and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, hey, rates are at 7% today. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait till rates come down to 5.5. Well, let's examine that. Let's say you're buying a house at a $700,000 home, right? Or you're borrowing $700,000. You're buying an $850,000 home. If you borrow that money at 7%, your mortgage payment, now this doesn't include taxes and insurance, but the mortgage payment itself, which is what we're talking about, is a little over $4,600 a month. If you wait until that property, the interest comes down to 5.5, your payment would be $3,900 a month, roughly. So there's a difference there of about $700. Let's say it takes 2 years for the rates to come down. The house goes up. It's $800,000 home. It goes up in value 10% a year. That's $80,000, $160,000 in gain. Do you know what the difference is between the mortgage payment over those 2 years? $700 a month.
Yeah, it's $16,800.
It's $8,500. It's $16,000 is what you paid for $160,000 in gain.
You hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Don't think meat. You only hurt the
Yeah, that's right. So here's the note. If anybody's on the fence, like deciding whether or not they're going to wait for the rates to go, I'll lend you the extra $16,000 for that appreciation. I'll just split the appreciation with you.
Right. Oh, for half of it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't? Absolutely. So
You're a giver.
Call me. I am
You're a
so
giver.
generous. I want to help people get into homes.
Yeah. You know what I probably should have done too, because we don't know how long it's going to take, but you can like do the buy down of your rates. And I was just talking to a lender this the other day, and I could have put some cash in and gone from, call it 7 down to 6 and down to 5, with a certain amount, not too much.
Sure.
We were in a hurry to get it, so we got it.
But you should do the math before you do that. Like, what's it going to cost? If it costs,
that's what knocked me out, Jay. I don't know how to do that. So.
Got to get one of those calculators on his
Yes.
phone with
10 HP2. Because if you're paying $2,000 for a buy down and you're looking at a difference in payment of $700 a month, it's an absolute win just to do it for a year.
Yeah,
it's $8,500 compared to $2,000. You save $6,000.
It's not 2,000, but it probably would have made sense. Yeah.
What was it? Was it more than $2,000?
No, I didn't look into it, but I know it would have been higher than that. But either way, it would have been. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying there are options out there.
Sure, there are
to ride through this.
All right, gentlemen, any last words or anything you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
that last discussion right there.
Amazing.
It was great. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But the math that went on just in spitballing was something to see because we're here in the room. I hope it was something to hear, but that is the reason why you need to contact a real estate professional, because they'll sit around and they'll do that kind of thing like we just did in here, which was fascinating to watch. Just the going back and forth. It was like a game of your favorite game.
He's impressed.
Tennis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The facts are painful. Yeah. Or helpful. Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
gentlemen,
James.
thank you very much. And those of you that are listening, if you ever want to talk to Mr. Sweasey, you can get a hold of him by
805-781-3750.
and Hal at teamsweasey.com. And I promise that he will talk to you. You can call and talk to the celebrity himself. So don't be shy. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to everybody next week. Thank you for listening to the Hal Sweasey podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. It comes out every Monday, so check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halsweasey.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halsweasey.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Sweasey Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
Hal Sweasey is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 01111-911. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.